Hey everybody, welcome to Snow Talk. We have a lot to cover here. This is an important week, a busy travel week. It's always tough to do these videos or really talk about any long-term event on social media because it's easy for words to get twisted around and people take tweets and Facebook posts the wrong way. And sometimes I don't feel like I fully explain my point the best way I can, so then people see an opportunity to wiggle their way into what I said and twist it, and I don't like that. So that's why I like doing these video blogs. So hopefully I can be clearer than social media. There's a lot floating around out there. I get a lot of noise. It's because it's Christmas, and there's a chance for cold weather and snow. It's not a bad thing. People get excited over that. Yeah, let them get excited over it. It's what Christmas is about. If they weren't on social media, they would be buzzing about it in grocery stores. So it's just the way it is. All right, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't change that. It's going to happen. So what I can do is be responsible for what I think is going to happen and what are my thoughts in my head. That's it. I can't be responsible for anybody else but me. So here are my thoughts, and let's get you through the process. First off, right now we got a lot of clouds and fog, drizzle at times. Lovely day, right? Here's the Futurecast showing how we'll stick with the clouds and drizzle the rest of the afternoon. This, just as it fades out, we have another fog bank, but this is a higher level of fog bank that will stream in tomorrow. So we may get some sunshine tomorrow mixed in with this, especially in Indiana. But it's a south wind arrow there, so we get a warmer flow back into the game period. Temperatures back into the 50s, if not upper 50s. Then we deal, it could be a sprinkle, by the way, in southern Kentucky, but the main shower chance will be Wednesday. Now, there is going to be a trough that happens as that low moves in southern Kentucky Thursday, so the wind arrow shifts around to the north. Now, at the moment, everything looks like it's going to be liquid form. There would not, and it would not surprise me to see a report of some sleet that could get mixed in with some of the rain for areas of bluegrass at Kentucky, Frankfort, Lexington on Wednesday. Very similar to what we saw yesterday. That wouldn't surprise me. We're going to be above freezing, though, so it's not going to be a big situation. At least want to mention it. Most of the rain looks like it's going to hug southern Kentucky and then move out of here as we head into Wednesday night. So Thursday, right now, trends to be the better day of the entire week. Then we get into the mess down the road, which I'll show you in the operational models, which I don't like to show the operationals that much, but I need them to show a precept type to explain some things. So let's start with the ensembles. It's the best way to do this with such a very dynamic pattern. And it is. This is a very dynamic, or what we call an anomaly. The pattern is not... It's fallen itself or reaching itself way outside the norms as we did this weekend. Whenever that happens, the models then go nuts because then they try to comprehend the extremity of what they're indicating, collecting on data, comparing it to climatology at the same time. There's a lot of factors going into play here, so you get some crazy, outrageous solutions, and every time you change one small little detail, it's part of the whole butterfly effect here, you end up changing the outcome drastically. Because it is that sensitive. Anytime you deal with a high anomaly pattern, that is what happens. If it's a status quo, the changes are very subtle. But in this situation, you just barely sneeze and you're going to change something. So it's very sensitive. So here are the players that we're looking at. This is the upper air pattern. Here's your ridge over Alaska, trough in the Aleutians. That's actually a really good setup for cold weather for us. Anytime you see that. Now, there's not much blocking in Greenland. There's a bit on the western side there. I would like to see a little more because normally you want to get your high pressure up here. That way you get your low pressures below it. But here's the southeast ridge. This is the GFS. The ensemble. I believe it's GFS I got first. I think it is. I should label these more than what I do. Either way, it looks like the GFS. As the trend here is for a somewhat of a southeast ridge, but not really. Now, and the reason why the models are struggling with this is anytime you get a strong ridge like this, usually you will get the same reaction, the teleconnection idea, and you can almost form where the cold air just gets trapped in the country. True Arctic blast, polar vortex type stuff happens when it gets pulled down. But this one's a little odd, mainly because I think what's happening up here with the NAL being a little different. I think the ridging is just really ill-defined. Let's switch over to the Euro idea. And the Euro is seeing a little more of the blocking pattern, which is certainly slightly toward the negative side on the NAL, but certainly it's very extreme on, this is the negative EPL, definitely the ridging there in Alaska. And it has the ridge. It's trying to counterbalance what's happening here in the northern Atlantic and also with the southeast ridge. And the two are battling out of who's going to be a little bit on the stronger side here and who's going to be dominant. And this really influences the angle of the cold air. But notice we're still This is, by the way, indicated for Saturday, I believe. This is still the edge of everything. Now we get into the Canadian, which is leaning a little more toward the idea that this is going to be more strong and this is not going to be. So it's putting all of its pennies in one jar on this, and the trough, even the ridge is a little off here, but it still has it nonetheless, and therefore the trough ends up being a little more angled and the warm air wins out. So this is the players are there on the field, guys. There's actually 4 if I had to draw it out. You've got the Aleutian Islands trough, you've got the Alaskan Ridge in Western Canada, you have the somewhat ridging across the NAO area of the Greenland, Northern Atlantic, and then you got the Southeast Ridge. And then in the middle of that is the cold air. We are on the edge of all this craziness here, especially in the cold air side of things. So that's why our situation is so complicated. If we were riding here, it'd be a lot easier across the Dakotas. We know we're going to be cold. But that's not the case for us. So let me show you real quick, because I'm already running out of time. Imagine that. Here is the Euro model. I've done this a little differently today. Here is the blue line. That's the rain-snow line aloft, not freezing at the ground level at all. In most cases, it doesn't always mean that. Rain-snow line aloft, but I did place the freezing temperature at the ground level where you start with the peak. So here we are for Wednesday. The rain system again, Southern Kentucky. Again, the rain-snow line to our north, so we're not too concerned about that. Then we head into Friday. Here comes the rain breaking out. Could see some thunder with this as we head into Friday night, early Saturday, but severe weather right now doesn't look to be probable. We'll monitor that, of course. Here's the rain-snow line. Here is the cold air at the surface. Now, what's interesting is you get some cold air early on Christmas Eve day at the surface level. As we start to get the trough digging in back here to the west, you get an obvious, like a surface reflection here right on the edge of the cold air and the warmth. So we get lift. So there's going to be a lift here, but whether or not it's going to be organized area of low pressure or it's going to be moisture just in general and the jet flow increasing, that's kind of the question mark. Because right on the edge there on Christmas morning of the rain-snow line aloft and the freezing temperature at ground level, and even by the time we do Christmas night, the rain-snow line is right on to Louisville. So at the very, very end moment, the cold air just seeps down 20, 30 miles, enough to change over to something frozen. Too close, guys. Way too close to have that in the forecast as a guarantee. And then it kind of loses out here, and the model for some reason gets stuck on the preset, but you can see how the cold air then just dominates. Very frigid after that. All right, let's look at the GFS. Same ordeal on the setup, by the way. Here we go with the front on a front. It's a little faster with the front on Friday, but it looks like it keeps any convection mainly to the south of us. Rain-snow line does catch up with it, so there could be a brief end to snow, even though we're going to be above freezing because the freezing line at the surface level stays to our west. Then we head into Sunday, Christmas Eve. Here's where we get the trough digging. You get lift going on, so then we get a reaction on the radar, and you get a strike, this little jet streak, if you will, of snowfall. These typically are weak. They're not overly strong when these happen, but it is trying to streak out snowfall for Christmas Eve. I know it sounds like it's planned, but that's the way it is. I've seen it vary, and in some cases the dry air could win out and that kind of a deal, and the radar could show that, but nothing reaches the ground. And that I've seen happen many times on jet streak and Arctic air. But having said that, that's the way it looks, which means that this actually would be a little more pronounced with wintry weather, potentially in the deep south. And then that moves on out, cold air wins, and then we get ready for our friend for New Year's Eve, or at least before New Year's Eve, to roll on out. And that one actually has a better chance to impact this because there will not be an issue of a southeast ridge at that point. It's only for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day that is still a question mark. So the snowboard, I'm going to play cautiously right now. I'm going to go with a rain or snow deal, and that's really going to be Friday or Saturday morning. It may briefly into snow. The Sunday one for Christmas Eve, I'll put something to watch for that jet streak to see if we can get some lift in here to get something wintry to take place. Big if on that, guys. And then maybe some flurries on Christmas Day just because it is going to be cold. I can't rule that out. It'd be festive, flakes. And then we'll see what happens just before the new year. So this one is a couple of days ago, it did look like it was going to be a very extreme setup of a winter storm and an ice storm and snow and everything else. And that's when every piece of data on the ensembles, anyways, was coming in with a good amount of warming and cold air undercutting, sliding underneath it. Today, we're not seeing as much confidence in that strength of that ridge now, and we're seeing differing variations how deep the cold air layers will be. So that then changes the game. So this means we need until Wednesday or Thursday to really fine-tune this one. This is going to be a tough one here, guys. But right now, I'm hoping at least we can just get enough for a white Christmas, which technically is 1 inch of snow at 7 a.m. Christmas Day. I would be happy with that because I got a lot of traveling to do myself. You all do as well. We got family coming in. We don't want anything crazy happening for Christmas. All right, we don't want it then. We want just enough to say White Christmas and it's fun. And hopefully you guys agree with me on that. Stay tuned.